I'm convinced that books are the best way to teach kids. And books have been kind of the foundation of Sonlight from the beginning. I think when you hand your child a book, they build imagination. How many of us have seen a movie, for example, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and went, wait a minute, Lucy doesn't look like that at all. But in our imagination, we can see what she would look like. We can visit Narnia and see what this land looks like and interact with people that we're not used to at all because of books. I think the goal of Sonlight from the beginning was to raise up kids that love to learn. And I think that is the key thing that books can do. I think if you can raise a reader, a kid that loves to look at a book and lose themselves in it, and you call them for dinner and you have to go find them because they don't hear you, because they're gone, you have no barriers on what you want to do. You can research it, you can find it out, you can think about it, you can reason it out. Books, I think, are absolutely key to raising kids that love to learn. So when we talk about high academics, that is totally a byproduct. That was not in the original plan. But when you read, when you look at gorgeous science books, when you study history and you interact with it on a deeper level because of the books, I think the academics come about as a result of that. I think some of the quotes we've had in the catalog where it talks about the mom says, oh, I wonder if my son knows these dates. And they say, oh, did this happen first or this or this? Because of the stories that they've read that have drawn them in, they go, oh, I don't know exact dates, but I can tell you when it happened. And boy, isn't that the goal? Rather than filling in a worksheet that says, you know, the Industrial Revolution happened at such and so time. Who cares? We want our kids to understand the big picture and where it fits in the theme of things. And I'm convinced that that is the way to do it the most effectively. If you have a textbook, a lot of times they come with bold text. They come with words defined. They come with maybe a committee of authors, sometimes a single author. If you have a textbook, you have one person's understanding. Whereas if you have a variety of books, you can triangulate and come between them and come to understand the world in a new and a fresh way. Textbooks, I of course went to a Christian school. We had textbooks. You never wrestle with what a textbook said. You don't need to. It's true. It's right. These are the scholars that know everything. We haven't trained our children to think. If we hand them a textbook, let them answer the few questions based on the keys, facts they can pull out of the books. I am convinced textbooks do not educate our children. The school I went to was classical. I think it was kind of a classical education. We actually had, believe it or not, a Latin class. It had all of 3 students in it, and the teacher graded them all A, B, and C based on the person and not how they did on the test. I think that a classical education, while it is solid, it is very dry. So that's not one I'm going to choose either. I think it's way more important that we raise up kids that love to learn, that love to think, that think books are their friends, that can't wait to pick up a magazine, that can't wait to think about what's happening in their world, rather than someone who maybe has every fact right. In my high school, we had to memorize a bunch of dates, but you know, I don't think I ever walked away with the big picture, and it didn't at all impact my heart or my mind. You did it, you got your grades for your tests, but the goal is that we impact students' hearts and minds. Let's see. I see my notes here, it's funny. Books, share memories. Oh, how many? And I've referenced this before, that we shared memories sitting on the couch. But it was very interesting to me. I think one of our favorite times on the couch was 7 Daughters and 7 Sons. I think we're supposed to read it in 3 or 4 weeks or something like that. I think our kids read it in 3 days because they'd go, Dad, you can't stop reading now. Oh my goodness, talk about a great time. And of course, he was captured as well, so it was one of those where, oh, okay, he didn't have to twist his arm too hard. But I think as we read compelling, captivating stories that take us to different parts of the world, I think it also helps us understand our world as well. And I think one of the books I'd like to use as an example is Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, which is just one of those stories that just rolls you under the couch because it's so powerful and so hurtful, actually, in a lot of ways. It was very interesting. We were watching a film that talked about a black basketball team and how they were traveling through the South, and hoods came in and put blood on the walls and trashed the room. And my son-in-law, who I think had a textbook education, said, that didn't really happen, did it? Huh. After reading Roll of Thunder, I'm here to tell you that happened and more. But for someone who'd gone through the school system, he didn't know. That didn't really happen, did it? But how much better for our kids to have felt that. Oh, it's a gut feeling. When you get done with that book, you just could cry about the injustice. And does it raise up kids, hopefully with a compassion and a desire to go out and change their world? Oh, one of my favorite quotes in the catalog was the boy who said, as a result of doing Sonlight, I want to go out and change the Philadelphia social system. And I'm thinking, glory! And because he'd read Wilberforce, he said, and I think I can do it. May that be the story of every one of our students. I think books are an effective way to learn about our world. For those of us who don't have an opportunity to travel because we're busy homeschooling our children, or we're just busy, it allows us to visit places that maybe we'd never see. I probably will never get to Tibet, but traveling with Momo and coming through India gives us a chance to see a part of the world that maybe we'd never see otherwise. And how neat for our kids to live in a world where, as we're so interconnected and the world is so much in front of us, that we can potentially help them recognize their world as the diverse and interesting place with really not scary people. I think sometimes when you read the news, you think, oh my goodness, I don't think I dare travel there because all kinds of bloodshed happens there. But when you read stories of kids that live there, it gives you an opportunity to be compassionate and understanding of them as well. I think it's a non-threatening way. I think right now I've been reading books to my granddaughter, and we are, of course, looking at, she's crazy about animals, so we pull out every animal book we can find, and we always talk about the giraffes and the elephants, and I thought, she might not get to Africa for a while. But how neat that she has an opportunity to meet with some of these animals. We'll never get to ancient Egypt, but through books, we can say we've been there. We can learn and go back in time and see various explorers. That note, I don't have a clue what I wrote there, so we'll go on. Maybe I need to take a handwriting program, no? I think books are renewable entertainment. I thought, there's probably been 3 movies that I've watched more than once, right? How many books have I read more than once? Let me count the ways. I think there was a season when I read the Narnia series twice a year for 20 years. That is good economy. If you can use your books again and again and again, and I'll pick on Greg here. He said he reads Catcher in the Rye every year. You do not you don't watch most movies every year. There's not very many things we do every year. But books they can be a friend and they can be entertainment for life. I think that there is a precious connection that happens when mothers and dads read to their kids. I can't tell you how many times John has sat on the couch and honestly, he had all 4 kids snuggled up against him, a couple of them with their head on his shoulder, and he'd get to the end of some sad story or heartwarming story, and his voice would break and the kids would go, finish it, Dad, finish. And of course, he'd have to grab himself and hold himself together and try to get to the end of it. But I thought, how neat for our kids to see emotion in us and the impact that a well-written story can have. To have dads that are willing to demonstrate that they have feelings in a world where men are told to be tough and firm. And what a precious heritage read-alouds can have. And how many things do read-alouds teach us? They teach us how to listen, right? I think You can have the TV going in the background, and people who are raised on that, after a while, they don't hear it at all. I mean, they could keep doing whatever they're doing, but when you have a good story going, who cannot listen? Isn't it true? How many of us have come, even when we're reading to the little one, and they all kind of eventually cluster around us? They build imagination. They increase our vocabulary. They allow our kids to hear stories beyond their own ability to read, and they cause enormous connections. When we go on family times, I always bring a book along, even though we have grown children, and the trick is to find them for grown all the way down to small levels. But we always read together as a family. Precious, precious heritage, and I say, may it continue. I think books lead to shared memories and time spent together. I think that there is something that happens as you read that doesn't happen in any other way. I think that you can connect with your kids on a deep enough level that somehow they learn to communicate with you. Now, I don't know if that's true for all of you, but that's certainly how it was in our home. You know, everybody talks about, oh, those scary teen years. I'm thinking, what is that? I don't have that. Do you have that in your family? And I think there's no proof on this either, but I think it's those times when we read and the kids said, boy, I wonder what you think about that. And you talked about it and you shared ideas and you learned to like one another even as you were reading. Maybe it's as you read stories and you think, well, I don't like that kid and I do like this kid. I don't know. But the scary teen years, I don't even know what that means. So may it be that every family has those neat opportunities. I think reading books is an incredibly effective way to teach. I have 4 children and 4 learning styles. And all of them use the Sonlight model, I think, very effectively. And if they can do it, anybody can, right?